Jose, was the money there to get easily? The talent? We've heard stories that there's not enough talent here, that the investors are only now starting to focus on projects like yours in New York. What did you experience?
So I'd say even 10 years ago, there was a notable paucity of quality venture capital in New York. So there was some venture capital, and no disrespect to any venture capitalists who were here 10 years ago. I'm sure you were the exception. But there was not a critical mass of really highly regarded venture capitalists here, and that may even have been true 5 or 6 years ago. It's not really true today. So, Barry and I shared an investor in Firstmark. They're an up-and-coming fund that's funded at Pequot. They're doing incredibly well. They're very value-add. They're a great investor. We also have First Round Capital, Josh Koppelman. Josh Koppelman, Fred Wilson, and Peter Thiel are probably sort of the best known of these sort of kind of first, or like seed round institutional investors. Peter Thiel is out in California, and USB is here, and Josh at First Round just moved here. So anyway, there's a lot more. The venture capital in New York is really picking up steam. Matrix just moved a very senior partner here, and other big funds are beginning to move here. And one of the notable things that's different, even in the last few years, before Silicon Valley venture capitalists might have missed an occasional deal here, but whatever, it's just New York City, who cares? And now there are so many deals here, like both of theirs, that Silicon Valley VCs, when you talk to them, it just kills them that they didn't get into those deals. In your case, you did get some Silicon Valley money, but and everyone else in the Valley was totally jealous. So that is a new thing in New York City. So short answer, the high quality money is here now. Not in the enormous amount that it is in Silicon Valley, but more is coming in every day. On the talent side, it's totally bifurcated, right? So if you want developers, there are fewer of them, and you've got to be more creative about how you get them. But everything else, there's a lot of here, or just about everything else, because there's so much talent here.
Naveen and Barry, similar stories, experiences with capital and talent?
Yeah, we could tell our story. We didn't know any VCs, so it wasn't easy on day one. But the cost of actually doing business or building our service is very, very low. So for the first year or so, my buddy Dennis and I basically took our savings, and we were able to live off that while we built this thing. And we didn't have any employees. We basically hired a designer part-time to help with a few of the badges and a few of the design elements. But everything we did, we basically came out of our own pockets, and it wasn't a big deal to do that. We actually hired our first employee after we closed our first round, which was well after we launched. It was probably about 6 months after we launched Foursquare. We launched it in March of 2009. And in August of 2009, we closed with 2 firms, one here in New York City, Fred Wilson and Union Square Ventures, and one in San Francisco, O'Reilly Alpha Tech. Both people that we'd already had contact with, and we actually thought long and hard about it all summer long. Like, who do we pick? What is the value that they really add? What do we really want out of them? This is the first time really actually going to the level of actually raising money. So it's probably harder to pick someone than actually going through the process of doing it. And once we did that, we were able to build out a team fairly easily. The first round of people that we brought in were friends of ours, friends that didn't want to join until after we raised money, but the friends that were very passionate about our vision, and they knew a lot about us and our work ethic and what we wanted to build. So the first round of employees that we brought in were just everyone that we knew in the industry, or people that were recommended by others when we went out to events and parties. And then the second round basically came from college classmates and roommates and people from our frats and things like that. Really smart guys that we'd already worked with, that we knew their work ethic and we knew how good and how smart they really were. And they came on board, and then they helped us. So after they came on board, they helped us recruit a couple of people away from hedge funds and all these other things. And that was our third pass. And then after that, the fourth pass of recruiting actually happened. We realized Dennis, me, Harry, the 3, I guess, core team of Foursquare, couldn't do our day jobs and do recruiting full time. So we brought on a full-time recruiter, and she's very good at actually going around, bringing talent in from all sorts of places. She looks on LinkedIn. She goes to a lot of the local tech events here in the city. She's in touch with people in San Francisco. She's actually recruited people away from San Fran to come here. So we've been able to build it out pretty well because of all of those reasons.
Barry, in the financial sector, of course, it's been observed that a lot of the technology talent has been siphoned off by Wall Street. And that's one of the exaggerated image, there's not much left over. Now, you're in the financial sector. Have you benefited or been hurt by that? And do you have a talent problem?
Well, let me take a step back and explain kind of our funding history, so it'll put things in perspective, I think. So this is the first time I've ever started a company, so I really didn't know what I was doing from a, writing a business plan or raising money perspective. And so I put together this really kind of cool business plan. I'm a former banker, so it was like, 50 pages and like great charts and graphs. I mean, I spent hours making like these charts, like perfect. And so I showed it to some people that I respected, and one of them said, okay, this is a great idea for a business. And the business plan contemplated raising a couple $1 million from some venture capital firms, building a whiz-bang trading platform, and then, being profitable, taking over the world. And he said, okay, well, this is a good idea, but the plan for execution is all wrong. Instead of going out there and trying to raise a couple $1 million and building a big platform, why don't you just buy yourself a telephone, buy yourself a computer, pick up the phone, and try to find people who want to buy and sell something? And that's what we did. And so we ended up raising, instead of $2 million, we raised $350,000. And on that $350,000, we became profitable in the first year because we hadn't built infrastructure, we hadn't done all those things. And being a profitable startup, especially in your first year, really just changed the conversation with investors. And so we were growing for 2-3 years, 100% per year, and then we were approached by First Mark Capital here in New York, and we didn't need the money. And it's a fun conversation to have with venture capitalists when you don't need the money. They're not used to it. But we selected them, took money from them for the right reason, which is that they're just great investors and great partners. So we took in money from them and continued growing, and then eventually we were contacted by Li Kai-shing out of Hong Kong, who has had success investing in Facebook and Skype and Spotify, some other great companies, especially network effect type companies, and said, well, look, I mean, when Li Kai-shing wants to invest in your company and you want to go to Asia, that's what you do. So we took in money from Li Kai-shing and Temasek out of Singapore. So we've kind of gone, I guess, a traditional, non-traditional route on the fundraising front, and I would suggest any entrepreneurs here in the room become profitable in the first year, and it really makes your job a whole lot easier. But I mean, that's really just dumb luck at the end of the day, I think. And then from a hiring perspective, because when we started, we were not a technology company, we were focusing on trying to hire Wall Street people who wanted to change the world and were not just focused on extracting every last penny from every transaction. And I think we've done a really good job, building a team with kind of that type of culture. But over the past 2 years, we've shifted to a technology-enabled business. I think over time we've become a technology business. And I made every mistake under the book. We outsourced it, and then we tried to do this and do that. And ultimately, it kind of comes down to hiring a great leader, some great managers, and the talent comes and follows them. And it certainly doesn't hurt to be in the press as much as we are to get some good talent.